Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend, the show where we go behind the scenes and talk to the creators of independent entertainment. I'm Jason Godbey, and with me in the Rabbit Hole studio today is an accomplished actor. You know him from his roles on shows like The Americans, Ozark, and Orange is the New Black, as well as feature films like Fast Five. Mr. Joseph Melendez. Welcome, Joseph.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Jason.
Hey, it's great to have you, man. Thank you for schlepping down here. We appreciate it. When anybody comes to Brooklyn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a Bronx boy, so, coming out to Brooklyn, that's a big deal.
What part of the Bronx are you from?
Grew up, 173rd Street, and then we grew up in Throgs Neck, the east side of the Bronx.
So, that's northern country up. I get nosebleeds when I go up there. If I go too far above 14th Street.
Yep.
So I wanted to jump right into it because you've had this career that's like pretty amazing. Like your IMDb is as long as my arm in terms of credits. So let's just jump right into it. I always ask people, what is your origin story? Like, what was the time when you said, I want to do this, and try to make it go and try to make a living of it?
Oh, it's an interesting question because it came in a series of events, not just it didn't just happen once. I remember when I was really young, my mom loved music. She always had Spanish music playing in the house, or Elvis. And I remember I think it was Viva Las Vegas. I saw Viva Las Vegas watching Elvis, and I was like, oh my God, I want to be him. I seriously was just like, I was completely enthralled by him.
I had the same feeling when I saw that movie, but I think it had more to do with Anne Margaret than it did actually, being Elvis.
I was really young. I wasn't at that point. But it was being that I was so young. Again, it wasn't a real. It's like every kid wants to be an astronaut, and it's like, oh yeah, I want to be Elvis, and it wouldn't happen. I wanted it, and then I decided to be a doctor. But when I turned 15. A buddy that I knew in high school just came up to me and asked me if I could sing. He pulled out a guitar. We started playing some songs in our high school campus, and he was like, you want to be in a band? And we got into a band, and that really started it. I never thought I would be an actor. I expected to be a rock star.
I think that happens more often than you think, the rock star to actor syndrome. I think it's all related. It's all performance related, and I think being a musician, if you have an ear, it really helps. You have an ear for music, ear for dialogue, and so let me tell you. So let me take you back a little ways. Okay. You're on this journey. You've done some theater, and then it's like the first big TV job. What was that for you, and how did that come about?
That first big TV job was when I was cast in a recurring role on Prison Break. It was fantastic. I had done little TV things up until then.
Who did you play on that?
The character was called Rafael. He was a Panamanian prison guard. But what was interesting about it was the way I booked it. I was doing Jesus Christ Superstar out in Austin, Texas. I was playing Jesus. And one of the producers was there. He saw the show. One of the executive producers of the show came up to me after the show was over and said, hey, have you ever done TV? Would you like to do something on our show? We're shooting in Fort Worth. And then agents just took it from there, and I wound up doing 8 episodes in the third season.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
What was the because you were like a stage kid.
Yeah, I was a total musical theater guy.
And what was the big challenge about acting for the camera and acting for TV? Was it because I know TV tends to go really fast.
TV's very fast.
So you really kind of have to know your stuff and like be on point. Like you, and the people who do it, it's like the acting Olympics. Like you're just doing this all the time and you're doing it every day.
Yeah.
Was there a transitional period for you where it's like, oh my God, I gotta like play this to camera and I've got to be a different style of actor than I was when I was on stage?
It's a good question. It's interesting. Not for me so much, but I was always the theater actor that directors were always asking for more. I was always subtle. I was always
not big enough, as they say.
Yeah, but it wasn't that it wasn't big enough. It was just that I was internal. I've always been a thinker. So if I was playing a moment on stage, it was happening here as opposed to out where the audience can see
Right.
it, and which is why I think I do so well on TV or film.
I think some people are just better suited to it too. You
Yeah.
know, like and some people have great faces that if they think it, it'll come out on their face, and you know they don't seem like they're doing anything.
Yeah. I've always been told that I have a very expressive. I can't ever hide what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
sadly.
you're like me, like terrible poker player, probably.
My God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you're here because this whole show has become like a 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon situation. So everybody that I meet tends to know somebody, and luckily I've been able to have some great people as a result on the program. So we had Richard LeMay here.
Oh, yeah.
We were 6 episodes in, and very friendly guy, great guy to talk to,
Yeah, work with him.
so you happen to be on this picture that hasn't come out yet. Hopefully it will come out by either the time this airs or later this year. But you were in Bloodbound with him.
Yeah.
And I know that he at one point, I think Bloodbound was in post and he went and did Dementia 13.
Yeah.
But he got that gig based on Bloodbound. Like
he had sent them. I understand he had sent them clips from Bloodbound, and that's where NBC Universal booked him for that.
So you were talking before we went on, and you said that you play like a lot of heavies, like you get villains all the time.
I play a lot of.
Are you a villain in Bloodbound?
He's not a villain. He just has
a
to,
serious man who knows what he wants.
He has to make some choices. That's all. He's
Okay.
that's yeah. He's just a guy that was.
Pardon me for saying this. That's the most actor response ever.
But it's true. He just
Don't judge.
Exactly.
Don't judge.
Absolutely, you've got to love every character. You cannot judge him. You don't have that luxury.
So who's this guy you're playing?
He is the head of the family. He controls he is charged with making sure that the family continues to survive through the millennia. The family, it's a very old family, and it's a line that's gone on forever. He's charged with keeping it in his lifetime to keep it going and keep it safe, keep the bloodline safe.
So it sounds like old-fashioned sensibility, kind of got like an ancient sensibility to the, like you feel like it almost rings, because I know that when I spoke about it with Richard, it's a lot about witchcraft and things like that. So yeah, for me that brings in like the Crucible and Salem Witch and like very like old America type stuff.
Yeah, well, it's actually.
But
different.
this is modern. I know this is modern.
Well, it's interesting. And that was really one of the things when I first was cast, when I first auditioned for it. I kind of had the same problem. I looked at the script and I was like, "How do you play a witch? It's impossible."
Right.
So I took the easy route for me, and I thought of it completely different, and I just played him as a CEO. He was the CEO of the family. He ran it. He had to make sure everything was done. Profits were here, this and that. That was his job, and that's how I decided to play it, which made it a lot easier because then what's really cool about that is a coldness kind of creeps in. That's unintentional, at least for me. That I didn't really think about, but just because you just make it about business, that there's no longer emotion. So that worked really well for him.
Are you worried about being typecast as witches from now on? Like, are you?
Hey, if it keeps me working, no, I'm not worried.
Are you going to be in one of those new Harry Potter things that are not Harry Potter? The fantastic,
awesome.
where you play the evil guy.
I would love to be in one of those.
You've got the goatee.
Yeah, I've got the goatee going.
For those of you listening, he's a very handsome guy, but he's got this wicked goatee, like Evil Kirk, going on. So. In addition to that, I recently I saw you in Ozark, which I really liked the show. I thought it was really intelligent, really well done, and damn, is it well acted.
Oh, my God.
Some great people in it. And we were talking, too, that you got to act with one of my favorite people, which is Laura Linney. You did this scene with her that was when I saw that, I was like, because to me, she's one of those people. I've never seen her be bad in anything. Mm-hmm. Like whether or not I've loved the movie, I always like her.
Exactly.
And she seems so naturalistic. We were talking a little bit before about that. I don't know if you want to share this story.
I will. Absolutely.
But
that scene terrified me.
Now, who are you playing in this?
My character's name is Garcia.
Okay.
He works for the cartel. He works for Dell. who works for the cartel. He
Right.
runs the finances for the cartel.
Right.
I'm Dell's right hand. I kind of want to be Dell.
Right.
So that's I'm charged with
kind of a heavy in the show too.
I'm charged with watching the family, making sure that they don't take off before they clean our money.
Right.
I'm their handler, more or less.
Right.
But that first scene with Laura, I have to tell you, I was absolutely terrified. Just the fact that I was sitting there with Laura, I couldn't tell you how many times the thought was, oh my God, I'm sitting here with Laura Linney. Oh my God, I'm sitting here with Laura Linney. Went through my mind.
I talked to Alan Lewis Rickman about, he was in a movie with Al Pacino.
Oh yeah.
And Al Pacino's playing Jack Kevorkian, and he's being.
I saw that film. That was a great film.
Yeah, and he's playing like a medical examiner, and Kevorkian's literally like cross-examining him on the witness stand. I'm like, how is that not intimidating? And he's like, well, this I do for a living. I don't know if he was lying, but it didn't. He was very convincing about it. But see, I would be more like you. I would be like, oh my God.
Yeah. I was terrified.
It seems like a very reasonable response to me.
What brought me back, which I thought was really interesting, was between takes. Laura, I hope she doesn't mind if I'm saying this, but she sang to herself quietly, and I asked her about it.
She's never going to hear this show.
Okay, good. And I asked her about it. I asked if she was a singer, and she said no. And I asked her about the singing, and she says, well, I just do it to calm my nerves between takes. And I was just kind of sitting there going, you're nervous about working with me?
Yeah.
And it just kind of made me realize that, oh, wow, it just doesn't go away. All right, so just get used to it. And it was easier to handle then, because then you just go, oh, I'm just like them. They're going through exactly the same thing, even at their level.
Yeah, you're doing the same job that they're doing.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people grasp that. I mean, and I do see now, especially because you've done big movies. I mean, you were in Fast Five, which is one of those big blockbuster, franchise pictures. But like now, you see like wonderful Oscar caliber, amazing actors in shows on Netflix and HBO, and things like True Detective and Ozark and Orange Is the New Black, and you see like these amazing people.
Well, that's because that's where the writing has gone. I mean, all the incredible writers have gone to
I feel
TV,
like we're
cable
adult
television and streaming.
It's like we're adult entertainment, and I don't mean adult entertainment as an adult entertainment, but like entertainment for people who. Maybe you want to see something a little bit deeper than a superhero film, or you want to see not a Transformers movie. But I wanted to ask you too, because you've done, like you said, you were on Prison Break.
Mm-hmm.
You've done The Americans, which is an FX show, and you've also been on some like NCIS and like network.
I just did NCIS New Orleans. I just did For the People, the Shonda Rhimes show on ABC.
So like. Is there a difference between being on a streaming channel show and being on a network show?
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference. Network television, first of all, it's quick. It's just fast. You're constantly going. But the other interesting thing with the streaming stuff is it's shot more like a film, and. But also because it's episodes, you're jumping around a lot, which you don't do so much on network television. In network television, usually you're about a month behind whatever's airing.
Right.
So, but with a streaming show, we're shooting the entire series. So on Monday, I'm shooting episode 6. On Tuesday, I'm shooting episode 8. Wednesday, I'm back on 6. Thursday, we're shooting 9.
Right,
and then
because
7 on Friday.
We got Joseph here for this week or whatever, and we're just going to shoot everything with him, as opposed to bringing you back over the course of a year or whatever, or over the course of a season.
But it's also what's interesting in the whole industry about that is because I think a lot of the difference is budgets too. Budgets have gotten so huge because of things like Game of Thrones and stuff that. Even these shows, they're sending out 2-3 companies at once shooting simultaneously. So that's also I remember even network television earlier on. I never shot with more than one camera on a network show. Now, the last couple of shows I've done, 2-3 cameras is normal on one scene.
Because we've got introduced through shows like Game of Thrones, and maybe starting as far back as like The Sopranos or Deadwood.
Well, that was the beginning of it. That was the start of it.
And you see this quality, and somebody goes, you know what, TV can be cinematic.
Oh God!
I
mean, Game of Thrones really changed the whole thing. I mean, their average. I think I was reading their average episode is something like 12 or 17. It's ridiculous.
I mean, and on a network television show, it's
network used to be the average used to be.
It was like 500K.
It was like 500 to $1 million for an episode.
Right, depending on who's in it, probably.
Now it's the average episode is starting at 1.5 to 3 for net, and that's network.
Wow,
that's not even.
So, like with a show like one of the things I liked about Ozark was the look of it, and it looks like a movie. It doesn't look like TV.
That's all Jason.
Yeah. Really, that's Jason Bateman doing that.
Jason Bateman is the genius behind that show. I mean,
really,
we have great producers. I'm not putting them down, please, guys. I love you. No, it's not that. But no, Jason is a brilliant man. He's
worked in television roughly forever.
He was a child.
He was a kid.
He'll hate me mentioning this, but he started with silver spoons.
Yeah,
he doesn't like remembering that.
Yeah,
but he is not what I expected.
Yeah. He's one of those guys that he was a child actor, and you kind of knew him as that, and like you kind of. Then there was this like resurgence of him where he just started being in everything, and people are like, "Oh my God, he's really talented and funny."
After the Arrested Development,
right? Arrested Development is brilliant TV, but it's network sitcom-y type stuff, and then you start to see him more in like features, and you see him play these little brilliant parts. Yeah. And then when this came out, I was like, "Oh, this role is perfect for him," and he's so good in it.
It was amazing. It was like this little hidden gem that I had no idea. And again, I mean, no insult to Jason, but I thought, the things I've seen him, I love what he does in Arrested Development, and he's a wonderful comedic actor. His subtlety, I've never seen someone so subtle. But seeing him in this, I developed a little bit of a man crush while we were on set, because I was like, this dude is amazing. He directed, he was directing episodes. There was one moment he directed me, another actor, himself, set up lights and set up the whole shot. And it was just brilliant. He was just so focused, so incredible, can see so much further ahead than the moment. That's something I can't do. I'm like a dog at the moment.
Well, I think that's the part of the beauty of television is that and doing this, like, I think it's really, because it used to be like, oh, it's television,
right?
And for actors it was always like, I want to be in feature films. I'm a film actor, and you never saw stars. And there's certain stars that you still won't see probably come to even an HBO series. Like, I don't think Tom Cruise is probably going to do a series anytime soon.
I don't think they would want him. I mean, no offense to Tom, but it's that's the thing. And the reason for that is because all the great writers that were writing fantastic films went to TV.
Yeah.
Because they all got families, and they went, I don't want to travel anymore. I don't want to be out of work for 8 months out of the year, not knowing when my next job was. So they went, ooh, let's do TV and write really good stuff here and have a steady job. And that's where the actors went as well, because it's like, you're not traveling. You don't. I mean, sometimes you do, but you settle sometimes, and you get to do great work. I'm telling you, the first script I read of Ozark, before I even booked it, I just auditioned for it. I had originally auditioned for Dell. All I knew, as soon as I read that pilot, that first script, I knew that I needed to be in that show. There was just like, I have to be in this. It was just fantastic writing. I've never just read a script and gone, yeah, they could shoot that just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I really liked about it is the script is something that it keeps pulling the rug out from under you, and you keep thinking, oh, it's going to go this way, and then it goes that way. Yeah. And I'm a writer, and I'm a filmmaker. I'm pretty attuned to like when I'm being hoodwinked by a show, and it got me. But also I think it's just the level of, I think if you had that same script done by any other cast, or like it wouldn't, like if you didn't have Bateman and Linney, that show wouldn't be nearly as good. Like,
and that's true.
you know.
But they also, and again, another major difference, going back to the difference between network and some of the streaming shows, is network is very stringent on their scripts. You know, say the line. And if you get the line wrong, the line producer comes up, says, no, this is the word, say this word, and keep doing it till you get the word right. One of the great things about Netflix, or at least maybe it was maybe it was just Ozark, but I know Jason did come up to us at one point, and he came up to me and was just like, "Don't feel trapped by the script, just go."
See, that is much more movie-like, you know, and I think that's what people want too. Like in our entertainment, it's just it comes off more natural, it comes off better. You don't feel like you're watching this sort of manufactured entertainment, you know. Even though they're making a lot of episodes, but they're not doing like. I also think the beauty of it too is you don't have to do as much. You know, you don't have to do 24 episodes or what. I mean, what show isn't going to get stale if you've seen it over 20 times?
You're absolutely right.
In the season, you know, but you know, give me 8, 10 episodes. I've seen stuff like Stranger Things. The first round is like 8 episodes, and it's great. I would rather see 8 episodes of brilliant than 25 episodes of okay. You know,
The Sinner that was on USA as well, which I shot this summer too. That was only 8 episodes.
Really?
And that's coming back for a second season now too.
I think they're learning.
Bill Pullman.
Yeah, it'll probably be twice as many episodes next season. Yeah, they probably ordered 8.
If they're smart, they'll only do 10. And
people order television like they order donuts. You know, it's like they get like a dozen. We'll take a dozen of those. Take a dozen of those. You know.
Yeah. No more. You don't have the. I mean, you do have it a little bit. The days of you do a pilot and you get the back 6 on the next.
Right.
See, now it's like usually all straight to series.
So let me ask you, like, in all this experience that you've had, because you've done a lot of TV and you've done the big movies and stuff. What was the kind of thing like if you could go back in time and give yourself? Because I know you coach, but if you could give yourself advice, what would Joseph now say to Joseph then?
Save.
Do you mean that in a performance aspect, like save your energy,
money,
or save
money, save money? Don't spend at all. Live as minimally as you can, and squirrel away as much as you can. I did not do that, and yeah, that's the hardest part. It's an interesting industry where you go from you go from famine to feast to famine to feast to famine to feast. And the hardest thing now that I'm a little older and I can look back, is it was a mistake of managing money, because I would have enjoyed it a lot more if I had been just a tiny bit smarter with money, and I could have relaxed and not stressed out as much as I did through the years, and probably booked more and gotten to where I am faster.
I think one of the recurring themes that we've had on this show, and because I ask that question a lot, and I always try to find people who are accomplished and say, what about this? And the one thing I do hear the most is some regret that the people had. So, and like Alan Lewis Rickman, when he was here, he said, I wish I had the resume now that I had. I wish I had the resume that I have now 20 years ago,
right.
And done that much work and gotten those credits and scrambled.
Yeah, but again, 20 years ago you couldn't, because you were young and you don't have enough experience. I'm sorry. Young actors, you're all great and you're beautiful, but you're not that great until you get older. You have to have experience.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's one of those painful lessons that you learn. And I know I'm a better director now than I was 20 years ago, and I know I'm a better writer now because I've just lived much more life and seen many more things. And the other thing is like having a lexicon and being really familiar with older television, older films, and things like that.
What you're doing. That it's one thing. I had an audition once, and it really shocked me. It was for a Netflix show, actually, Hemlock Grove, when it was still running.
I saw that.
And I watched the show, and it was very specific. So when I auditioned, I was like, I paid attention to the style, the pacing. So when I did my audition, the casting director was like, you know the show? And I was like, well, yeah, I watched it. I'm auditioning for it. And she literally was like, oh, you don't know, can't believe how many people don't do that. And I don't understand that. One of the things that, to young actors, again, we get to do what we love, and that's awesome. But it's a business, and you have to treat it as such. You can't forget that it's not just play. It is work, and there's a whole thing that you have to do to be good at it. You can't just get up and be good at it. So work. Know what you're going for.
With that, we got to wrap up,
Oh.
but that's a beautiful way to end the show. And I think that's why people listen to this show, because they're not getting that on Inside the Actors Studio. You know, I didn't ask you what your favorite word was. I'll do that next time. If you ever come back, we'll do the Bernard Pivot questionnaire.
Cool.
But Joseph, where can people find you on the web?
Oh, you know what? I'm on Facebook. You can find me at Facebook.com/Joseph A. Melendez is my fan page, or you can find me at Joseph Melendez Studio on Facebook. That's my
Excellent. And you're on IMDb, and I'm assuming
just Joseph Melendez. Yeah. There's another guy, Joe, but it's not me.
Okay. So thank you so much for coming, and I will thank you for tuning in once again. For more episodes of No Rest of the Weekend, you can find them always on our website, btrp.nyc/podcast. You can also listen to this on Anchor and iTunes and Stitcher and all those places that you listen to podcasts. For Behind the Rod Productions, I'm Jason Godbey, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.